Let's be real, Luffy doesn't just fight, he disrespects his enemies with style. Whether it's laughing in the face of a warlord, walking into an emperor's territory like he owns the place, or one-shotting villains who thought they stood a chance, this guy has zero chill. And the best part, he doesn't even do it to show off. He's just built different. So sit back and let's relive the times Luffy flexed so hard that the whole One Piece world felt it. We're starting off this list with one of the most unapologetically Luffy moments in Wano. Let's talk about the time he absolutely destroyed Kaido's front. After Luffy and his gang approached Onigashima, they're welcomed by guards and they're not the friendly ones at all. They're all guarding the massive Torii gate and are ready to attack anyone who tries to trespass it. Now, sneaking past the guards isn't Luffy's style, so without a second thought, he launches himself off the ship and annihilates the entire gate with one monstrous red hawk. The guards perished and the massive gate was gone. Luffy flexed so hard that even his crew had to take a moment to realize what actually happened. Luffy was at his finest during this scene because he didn't even hesitate before jumping right into the heart of danger. This was one of the most pirated things Luffy had done, tearing through Kaido's front gate like it was made of paper, all for the sake of storming the island and grabbing some food and booze. Let's talk about the time Luffy flexed his observation haki so hard Kaido's goons probably started questioning their career choices. So, the guards started attacking Luffy and his crew with a barrage of arrows, but Luffy, he didn't even flinch. With the smoothness of a guy who's mastered future sight, he casually weaved through the arrows like he was dodging raindrops. Every shot fired was a guaranteed miss like they were in slow motion while he was playing fast forward. The guards were losing their minds, but Luffy, he was just vibing, proving that his observation haki was on a whole other level. Imagine thinking you've got the upper hand, only to realize the guy in front of you already sees everything before it even happens. At this moment, Luffy flexed on an entirely different level, a preview of the monster he was about to become. Luffy versus Caesar Clown was the kind of fight where Luffy disrespected his opponent while doing it. And honestly, Caesar had it coming. Caesar thought he was that guy. He was a mad scientist with a gas-based Logia devil fruit, the Gas no Mi, which let him manipulate and become gas itself. Right from the start, Caesar tried his usual tricks: poison gas, suffocation techniques, and floating around like an untouchable menace. But Luffy, he walked straight through it. Poison didn't work, his illusions didn't work, and most importantly, his arrogance didn't work either. And the ultimate flex, Luffy defeated Caesar without even using Gear 4th. Not Bound Man, not Tank Man, and definitely not Snake Man. Let that sink in, okay? Luffy didn't even think Caesar was good enough to warrant his strongest form. He handled him with nothing but pure haki, raw power, and overwhelming confidence. And the music, that epic OST swelling up right before the final punch, that's the sound of Caesar realizing that he should never mess with Luffy. Imagine you're Enel, the self-proclaimed god of Skypiea. You've got the Goro Goro no Mi, a Logia-type devil fruit that lets you become literal lightning. You're the kind of entity that's extremely fast, deadly, and almost invincible. Nobody would dare stand against you because, well, who would like to get fried by lightning, right? But wait, the one who doesn't give a shit about any of that? Now everybody who knows anything about physics, electricity, and rubber was waiting for this moment, and it didn't disappoint at all, did it? At first, Enel doesn't even take him seriously. Just another fool about to get cooked. So he does what he always does, zaps him with enough voltage to power an entire city. And then nothing. Luffy just stands there completely unfazed. Now at this point, you can see Enel's brain start to break. Luffy is literally immune to Enel's entire arsenal. And that's when we get one of the funniest, most meme-worthy moments in One Piece history. Enel's face. That iconic, wide-eyed, jaw-dropped look of absolute existential horror.
があるからいけねえんだ。痛くもねえあいつの居場所なんて俺が全部ぶっ壊してやる。ゴムゴムの
It's not easy leveling someone's empire, but for Luffy, it definitely is. You see, Arlong treated humans like dirt, tormented Nami for years, and believed his strength made him untouchable. But the second Luffy stepped in, that illusion started crumbling. Luffy wasn't scared of this so-called superior fishman. He tanked Arlong's attacks like they were nothing and treated Arlong's crew like low-level minions, knocking them aside without even breaking a sweat. He didn't care about Arlong's physical strength or his razor-sharp teeth. Luffy had one thing on his mind: justice for Nami. And just when you think things couldn't get worse, Luffy does something insane. See, Arlong thinks he's got the upper hand because they're fighting inside his HQ, Arlong Park. To him, this building is a symbol of dominance. To Luffy, it's just another obstacle in his way. So what does he do? He destroys the entire building. He also erases Arlong's entire legacy in one epic moment. This was that moment when we all knew that Monkey D. Luffy was wild. Moving on, we have Joffrey getting absolutely wrecked by Luffy. Joffrey thought he was untouchable. A warlord, ruler of Dressrosa, a celestial dragon by blood, and the ultimate puppet master. He'd been pulling the strings literally for years, treating people like playthings while sitting on his throne like some untouchable king. But Luffy didn't care at all. The man who saw himself as untouchable got one shot out of the sky in front of the entire kingdom. And the best part? The moment of pure disbelief on Doflamingo's face, that split second of, wait, I lost? Before he crashed through the streets of Dressrosa, completely erased from his own kingdom. Now that's a flex. The people he oppressed for years watched their so-called king get absolutely deleted in real time. Luffy always humbles those who think they're invincible. And Doflamingo, he learned that lesson the hard way. The king of disrespect is back with another disrespect, and this time it's Blackbeard's turn.
Gomu gomu no Jetto!
The dude loves to talk, and the moment Luffy punched him, absolute gold. Blackbeard wasn't ready for that kind of humiliation at all. One of the best things about Luffy is that whenever the audience is thinking, man, I really hope someone punches this guy, Luffy is already throwing hands before the thought even finishes. Same with that classic running gag. Only a complete idiot would reveal their location right now. And then there's Luffy, instantly yelling, hey, I'm over here. But honestly, Luffy punches Blackbeard as a top tier flex for so many reasons. First off, Blackbeard is one of the most hyped up villains in One Piece, a guy who's been plotting in the shadows, manipulating events, and taking down some of the strongest figures in the world. He's the definition of a schemer, always talking big about fate and power. And yet, Luffy didn't care about any of that. Blackbeard must have felt that punch so damn hard.
Senchu!
Now, Luffy saving Zoro from Kaido's Thunder Bagua was a next level flex. This was the kind of moment when we actually wondered if this dude sees Kaido as a real threat. I mean, Luffy is all about getting hurt while fighting, but when you hurt his friends, start counting your days. I've always loved Luffy for his dedication and love for his crew. He'd risk his life and well-being for them. He treats them all like family. In return, he has their respect and loyalty tenfold. So when Kaido decides to Thunder Bagua Zoro, Luffy doesn't hesitate and jumps right in front of Kaido, protecting his friend. It's such a great flex because Luffy wasn't afraid to turn into a sticker. He stopped the attack and didn't even care if it would finish him. Now that's the kind of friend I'd like to have in my life. After everything Zoro has done to support and protect Luffy since the very beginning, he really deserves this kind of treatment from Luffy. The bromance between the two is real.
これで死ねなくなったろ。
鼻から分かってる。
とにかくぶち破る。
Luffy beating NL into oblivion has to be one of the most satisfying moments in the entire series. NL's second mistake was thinking he could defeat Luffy. His first, thinking he was untouchable. You know what Luffy does to those who think they're untouchable? Yeah, you guessed that right. Luffy beats and humiliates them in the worst possible way. But wait, NL wasn't just another guy. Also, there's this proof of NL being a dumb fighter. He literally made himself a giant electric monster, yet he knows Luffy is rubber and is holding gold. Also, it's always fun to see the look of utter shock and agony on NL's face whenever Luffy does something unpredictable. In NL's case, for him, it was getting defeated by Luffy. Every moment Luffy ignored his lightning, every second NL's godhood crumbled around him. And especially that final realization he was the one getting sent flying. That's when it all hit him. The so-called god of Skypiea was utterly wrecked. How about the time Luffy absolutely folded Hajirudin like a lawn chair in the Corridor Coliseum? I like how Luffy used armament haki here, you know. It's a giant and not just any, it's Hajirudin. It makes sense not to underestimate a giant and give them a real good whack. I mean, they're no average fodder, are they? Everybody thought size mattered. Everybody thought Luffy, some random little dude in a helmet, was about to get destroyed. But instead, Hajirudin was the one getting a first-class ticket to Dreamland. It was at this moment that Hajirudin started respecting Luffy. He realized firsthand that Luffy wasn't just some small fry, he was the real deal. And that's exactly why Hajirudin would later pledge allegiance to him, becoming one of the first members of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. Because in the world of One Piece, it never mattered how big you were. If you stood in Luffy's way, you were getting wrecked. Loving the epic flexes from our goofy pirate? Then don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. And while you're at it, hit that notification bell so you never miss an update whenever I upload a new video. On to the next one. Remember the time Luffy straight up obliterated Hody Jones with a kick so clean it probably rearranged his entire fishy skeleton? Well, this is another example of Luffy humbling down another big shot. Hody Jones came laughing at Luffy and he didn't even feel fazed. He landed a single kick straight in Hody Jones's gut. His expressions were absolutely priceless, and this wasn't some regular kick. This was Luffy's post-time skip fresh out of 2 years of training with Rayleigh. He'd been cooking up new ways to destroy people, and Hody just happened to be the unlucky test subject. Hody didn't even see it coming. The dude went flying with that classic "what just happened" expression plastered on his face. The guy who'd been terrorizing an entire island got sent packing mid-sentence. At that moment, everybody watching realized this wasn't the same Luffy from before.
敵か味方かそんなことお前らが勝手に決めろ
Sometimes, a single punch says more than 1,000 words, and Luffy versus Bellamy is the perfect example.
パンチの打ち方を知ってるかって This moment isn't just about a fight, it's about proving that dreams matter and that no amount of mockery can crush true ambition. Bellamy, a cocky pirate who worships power and laughs at those chasing grand dreams, spends his time belittling Luffy and his crew. He mocks the idea of the Sky Island, believing only in brute strength and survival of the fittest. But when he takes things too far, stealing from Mont Blanc cricket and hurting his friends, Luffy finally steps in. What happens next? One punch. That's all it takes. In a split second, Luffy knocks Bellamy out cold, proving that real strength isn't just about power, it's about standing by your beliefs. The scene is satisfying because it's not a flashy battle, it's just justice delivered in the most simple, most effective way possible. This moment solidifies Luffy's character, a man who fights not for his ego, but for his dreams and for those who believe in them. And let's be honest, seeing Bellamy get wrecked in one hit, absolutely legendary. If there's one thing One Piece has taught us, it's that Luffy never knows when to stay down. だから俺がそんなもんにビビってると思うのか上がれ心臓の音
When he took a full force Thunder Bagua from Kaido, one of the strongest beings in the world, you'd think that'd be the end, right? Nope. Not even close. During the Wano arc, Luffy challenges Kaido head-on, believing he's ready to take on the Emperor, but reality hits literally. In an instant, Kaido swings his massive Ganabo and boom! Luffy sent flying, unconscious in one blow. Most fighters wouldn't get back up, but this is Luffy we're talking about. Instead of backing down, he keeps rising, stronger each time, learning to wield Advanced Conqueror's Haki to match Kaido blow for blow. This moment is a game changer. It's not just about raw power, it's about determination, growth, and proving that Luffy is truly on the path to becoming the Pirate King. The fact that he could take a hit from Kaido and still come back swinging, that's peak One Piece hype. Luffy's resilience is why we love him. No matter how hard he falls, he always gets back up, and this time it's Kaido who should start worrying. If there was ever a moment that screamed, Luffy is him, it was when he casually knocked out 50,000 fishmen in 1 second during the Fishman Island arc. No punches, no flashy attacks, just pure Conqueror's Haki flex. As the Straw Hats face off against Hody Jones and his army of 100,000, things seem overwhelmingly one-sided. But then Luffy steps forward and, with just a glance, half of Hody's forces drop like flies. The entire battlefield freezes. Even his own crew is shocked. Zoro, ever the savage, smirks and says if he couldn't do at least this much, we'd have to find a new captain. This moment wasn't just about showing off, it was a declaration. Luffy had leveled up after the time skip, fully
embracing his conqueror's haki. More importantly, it was proof that he was on the path of true kings, standing shoulder to shoulder with legends like Roger, Whitebeard, and Shanks. Fishman Island wasn't just Luffy's first test in the New World, it was the moment he showed the world that he wasn't just another pirate. He was a king in the making. And honestly, Hody never stood a chance.
お前がどんなとこでどういう王になろうと勝手だけどな。海賊の王者は一人で十分だ。
There are many impossible moments in One Piece, but the one that hits the hardest is Luffy punching Kaido. In a drunken state, Kaido went on a rampage to find Luffy and Law since he already hated their guts. During the rampage, Okobore town was in extreme danger, so Hawkins told Kaido that Luffy and Law were hiding out in Oden's castle. Kaido used his blast breath and destroyed the entire castle, causing Luffy to fly into a rage since he believed his friends were wiped out. In his fit of rage, Luffy chases after Kaido, who's in his Azure Dragon form, jumps high in the sky and uses his haki-infused elephant gun to punch Kaido right in the head. Seeing Luffy enraged has always led to some spectacular moments, and taking on the Yonko was one of those moments. Kaido, the guy who spent the last 20 years sitting on an undefeated throne, the guy who tanked everything thrown at him, absolutely looks shocked. Next up, we have the moment Luffy flexed on everyone at Marineford without even knowing it. Marineford is absolute chaos. The world's strongest forces are clashing, Whitebeard's crew is throwing hands with the Marines, and Luffy, just a rookie, somehow ends up in the middle of it all. He's not a warlord, not a Yonko, not some legendary figure, just Luffy. But then something wild happens. Luffy's one goal is to save Ace, and he's charging towards the execution platform like a man possessed. But then he's stopped. There are giant vice admirals, soldiers everywhere, and executioners ready to drop the hammer. Ace is running out of time, and just when it seems like there's no way through, half the battlefield suddenly collapses. Marines start dropping like flies, their eyes rolling back, bodies hitting the floor like someone unplugged their controllers. The crowd just stops. Even top-tier legends like Whitebeard and Mihawk take notice. This was the moment Luffy proved he wasn't just another pirate, he was destined to stand amongst legends.
これより麦わらのルフィを全力で援護しろ!
In a world where emperors rule the seas and their presence shakes nations, walking past two of them like they're nobodies, that's peak Luffy.
まず詫びろよ、麦わら。
おい小僧、お前が一体何になるのか。俺たちの前でもう一度言ってみろ。
During the Onigashima raid, amidst the chaos of the war, Luffy makes his way to the rooftop where Kaido and Big Mom, two of the strongest beings alive, are waiting. But instead of flinching, instead of even acknowledging their overwhelming presence, Luffy walks right past them. No hesitation, no fear, just pure focus. His goal? To check on his fallen allies, the Scabbards, because to him they matter more than any so-called emperor. Kaido, amused yet slightly annoyed, swings his Ganabo, but Luffy dodges effortlessly like it's nothing. Then, without missing a beat, he turns, calmly tells Law to move his friends, and lands a devastating Advanced Conqueror's Haki punch on Kaido's face, sending him crashing down. This moment wasn't just disrespectful, it was dominance. Luffy wasn't looking up at Yonko anymore, he was standing on their level. This was the moment the world saw it. Luffy wasn't just fighting emperors, he was challenging them, and soon enough, he'd surpass them.
俺はモンキー D ルフィ。お前らを超えて海賊王になる男だ。
Another satisfying punch? I'm for it. Now, Lucci was built up as this unstoppable assassin, CP9's top dog, a guy who'd never lost a fight, a walking death machine who could turn into a leopard and tear people apart. He gave Luffy one of the toughest battles of his life, pushing past his limits and nearly had the dude on the verge of collapse. But here's the thing about Luffy, he doesn't go down easy. After an all-out war of fists, gears and sheer willpower, we get to that moment. Luffy activates Gear Second, his body steaming like a damn locomotive, and just when Lucci thinks he's still got the upper hand, Luffy lands one of the nastiest punches in the entire series. Lucci, the untouchable CP9 agent, gets absolutely launched across Eni's lobby like a ragdoll. That was the moment Luffy put the entire world on notice.
CP9 ロブルッチ氏がたった今海賊麦わらのルフィに敗れました。
And with that, we're wrapping up this list of the best Luffy flexes in One Piece. There are a lot of flexes like this, so we must have missed out some of your favourites. Don't keep us hanging though, be sure to comment down below any attacks you think should have made this list. And if you enjoyed this video, take a look at this one. See you next time.